when I was looking at the Blood Wings the other day. What year was that?
That was probably in '93. Because see, actually when I came to, remember I had never been in the 82nd before. So when I came in, it was just the Airborne Ranger, and and so I was getting ready to get back in the aircraft, for the first time. But see, here's the way that it was unbelievable how this worked, right? So I'm at the Pentagon as the Requirements Review Council executive to Jay Garner. Okay. Benny P, General P, I don't know if you remember General P was the desk ops. Jay Garner was the assistant deputy chief of staff for operations and for force modernization. So it was his job to ensure that all the equipment issues of the Army were, addressed, and to figure out with all of his divisions for all the different weapon systems and branches together, figure out exactly how to support whatever the doctrine at the particular time was. And at that time, we were actually coming up with a big five, the Patriot, the Apache, and, the Bradley, all these different weapon systems that were supposed to be the future for the Army were being addressed at the time. So every Wednesday, we briefed all the principals in the Army at 7 o'clock in the morning, headed by General Sullivan, who was the chief of staff of the Army at the time. And so I had to go around to make sure to get the briefings, to make sure we had the right topics, build the briefings. The guys built the briefings. I had to basically reproduce the briefings for all the principals. And then that the particular action officer for that particular weapon system would actually come in, pre-brief General Garner, and would be a part of the briefing as Garner would present to the chief of staff and all the principals. And that was it was a job that never stopped. Right after that one, we had to start turning for the next one for the following week for the next Wednesday. There were many nights that I never went home. I actually stayed at the Pentagon to get these briefings done. It was an incredible experience. And then, of course, the war was taking place first. Gulf War was going on. Jay Garner had to go up to the Hill to brief the Hill on what's going on with Patriot. Well, I grew up shooting model rockets when I was started in the 8th grade, and I wanted to be an astronaut when I went to West Point. It was all about when I went to West Point, West Point had a number of astronauts, and still to this day, we got folks the female that just came back from the space station, West Pointer. The guy that's going up the commander-ship is a West Pointer. So that was where my mind was. You're going to go and try to get into the astronaut program. And the reason I actually picked air defense is because I didn't get selected to be a part of the astronaut program. So I went to rockets. I went to air defense. That's what made me want to go to air defense. But anyways, the incredible thing about Garner is he had to go up to the Hill and brief about what's going on with the Patriot, because initially in the first Gulf War, Patriots were not as successful as people had hoped they would be. And then following, it got product improved. It got PAC-3, Patriot Advanced Capability 3. It became a real threat. And but I built model rockets, and I had a Patriot 1/25th scale flying model that I actually flew at Sicily drop zone. I blasted that. I took my kid, a couple other guys out to the drop zone, got clearance from up at the 3 shop, up at Division, and went out and blasted that bad boy. I think it was the first time I actually shot it. Blasted that thing. I went about 2,500 feet up with an engine that was I shot it with an F85 something, but it was an engine about almost a foot long, about that bigger. It was like a piece of dynamite in it, right? But I took that to my office and I brought it into General Garner, and I said, "Sir, I know you're going up to the Hill to brief on Patriot." And he looked and saw me with this big Patriot, in my hand, and he says, "Give me that." So he took it out of my hand and puts it under his arm and walked out the door to go brief Congress. It was cool. It was so cool. But great experience at the Pentagon. Garner actually let me, on the weekends when they had the weekend, proficiency jumps, he let me go on TDY. Frank Barrow was the S3. Joe Torres was the XO. I got to go down there and go through jump proficiency training and start jumping again. So I have the requisite amount of jumps. So when I got to the division, I could actually go to jump master school. So I got my jumps up, high performance aircraft jumps, by driving on the weekends from DC down to Bragg, hanging out with one of my buddies that just retired as a 3-star general, Charles Hooper. He was in, I think, 3275. And my West Point classmate, awesome guy. I'd stay with him, drive down there. Frank would hook me up, get me a bald helmet, and send me over to jump proficiency training. And then finally out, jumping on Saturdays to get the jumps. I never forget one jump. We jumped in and we came down, and when Frank had come down, somebody told him that General Nix was on the drop zone. And he goes, "Oh shit, Nix is on the drop zone. He's gonna be looking for that bald helmet," because my helmet didn't have any, And it's sure enough, as soon as I hit the ground and I was up, who and all this shit, and Nix supposedly said to somebody, who is that? Who is that soldier over there with the ball helmet? Get him over here. Who is that? And Frank was like, oh shit. So he goes, hey, TW, Joe Nixon's on the drop zone. He wants to see you. And I'm like, is this good or is this bad? He says, we'll know after you finish. So I walked over to General Nixon, reported, sir, Major Williams reports. And he goes, oh, you in the division? Yeah. I said, well, sir, I'm coming to the division. You coming to the division? Oh, okay. What's good? And I told him, I worked with Jay Garner, tried to get him, hey, I worked for Jay Garner, and he set me up to be able to come down here. He gave me orders, got me some orders to come down and, permissive TDY to jump because I'm coming in at third or the fourth. I'm going to be replacing this big ugly guy right here named Frank Barrow. And he ate it up. He was like, oh man, you're going to a great outfit. And it was great. It was, that was my initiation really into the division. And it was all by, just happened to be on the drop zone that day on a Saturday, jumping with the soldiers.